Good day, everyone. Good day. Good day, Life Chatters. Good day, Life Chatters. Let me hop right into today's topic because I absolutely have to keep this video condensed down within the time frame, and you will understand my focus on trying to do that as I go along. But again, good day, everyone. And I think I'm going to change my Family Friday live chat title to just like a weekend live chat to share because for one, Fridays it's just it's turning out that we all get home a bit on the late side, around anywhere in between the 7:30 to 9 p.m. hour. And I mean, while generally it's a pizza night in our home, it's still like when getting home that late and just kind of unwinding, after the chit chatting and, the regular routine is to eat and then bathe and then bed, is you look up and it's about 11:30, maybe even closer to midnight. So at that point, um, we're all pretty drained. And so I'm not for sure if I'm going to do the Friday night live chat in particular. I think I'm going to just stick with more of a weekend live chat for now. And let me hop right into it. This one is interesting to me, just like I feel like last week's was. And it's so interesting because the two kind of coincide with each other in this really lovely type of a way, because that makes what all I'm saying make even more sense, and it adds to the topic in a very, very strong and instrumental way, and you'll be able to follow me as I go along. Okay, so last week's live chat was on anxiety, and what we did was we surveyed a group of high schoolers, grades 9 to 12, and what we did was we asked them how they felt on the topic, and then second, um, we discussed it and asked the kids like why they felt like they dealt with it and how they felt like it anxiety affected them in this day and on their day to day. And in a nutshell, or just to kind of touch back on what the kids had to say in part one, all the kids felt like they dealt with anxiety in this day on a daily basis, whether it was a minor situation to a major situation. The kids felt like they dealt with anxiety on a regular basis, on a daily basis, in grades 9 to 12, in a group of 11 kids. Okay, so then what we did from there, we went over that, discussed that, and then we gave the kids a scenario, and we just kind of asked how everyone felt behind it. Like, how did they feel about this particular scenario? How would they react within it? And did they experience any anxiety in the midst of it? And we sought out some results, and I shared those in the last video too. And again, I'm sharing that because that was anxiety in dealing with grades 9 to 12. And interestingly enough, in covering the topic of social media, it turns out that the age group that is most affected by social media is ages 18 to 29. That is the most active group age-wise on the web today. 90% of 18 to 29-year-olds make up most of social media, most of the time. Okay, so I found that to be really interesting. And what I also found to be interesting in doing further research in social media and its effect on not just our youth, it turns out, like technology is really just taking a control over all sorts of areas of our life, and the one, well, no, there's three areas in particular in dealing with this 18 to 29-year-old group that stand out and are ranked the top three diagnoses depicted amongst this group according to the Center for Collegiate Mental Health. Okay? So, according to the Center for Collegiate Mental Health, the top three diagnoses on university campuses are reported as number one, anxiety. Anxiety is number one for age groups 18 to 29. Number two is depression. Number two is depression. And number three is stress. Now, some may think like all of these are kind of intertwined, but they are all different forms. And of course, the anxiety stuck out to me in particular because I just did a survey on anxiety with just the age group just beneath this group in particular. So I found that to be really interesting. And just going even further, I wonder how many people even pay attention, or have you ever even questioned whether their social media usage has an effect on their day to day, and not just their day to day, in regards to working and thinking and, living, but your mental health, because your mental health is intertwined with everything we say and do. So it's important to understand that. And so looking further into that, what I found also was that, there's a very, very small percentage or small window of time that is allotted in a human being's schedule until it becomes what is now being said to be harmful to a person's mental health and will definitely cause for an increase in these three areas: anxiety, depression, and stress. And you guys aren't going to believe this, but apparently, according to all sorts of studies that I've gone over and just kind of annotated and things here, but apparently, if you spend more than simply 2 hours on social media, then you have drifted off into what's called a high social media usage group. And the high social media usage group is definitely at a higher risk of having to deal with higher levels of anxiety and depression and stress, and a scientific fact and scientific studies have been done on that. So there's no reason to go back and forth about it. 2 hours is the cap. If you're spending more than 2 hours a day on social media, then you're drifting off into some unwanted territory if you continue to do that long term. And something else interesting, and I'm going to try to hurry up and wrap up, in regards to social media was, to this day, there are 4 common social media stressors that are known. And I'm just going to share these really quickly as I can. Number 1 is stated to be the highlight reel. So we're going to want to pay attention to how much time we're spending on everyone's highlight reel. While it's great, we still want to limit the time that we're doing that. I mean, it's okay to spend some time, like supporting someone and congratulating someone, and being happy for someone. But we want to monitor that time because, again, if you're drifting past that 2-hour barrier, again, that's unwanted territory. Oh, I'll show you this guy something really quick. My kids and we're actually putting this into action. Like, I'm sitting here with a basket full of gadgets right now, and like we're all doing something else. Like, none of us are on social media right now because like we're actually like we watched so many videos and like so many conferences and read so many articles on this social media with this life chat. We was like, whoa. Like it just took us all back. I mean, because we knew these things. We talk about these things and we say these things like, "Ooh, that's too much social media." But who knew that only 2 hours was too much? So we have to think about that, okay? And so again, 4 common social media stressors today. 1 is known as this highlight reel. We want to watch and monitor how much time we're spending glorifying each other's highlight reels because apparently, according to studies, and master researchers, that if you spend too much time on a highlight reel, what is being found is people are struggling with insecurity because you or the person who's struggling with the insecurity is comparing their behind the scenes with whomever's highlight reel scene, and that's not realistic. Like, you can't compare your real life to someone else's highlights because most people's highlights are just that, highlights. Like, and highlights aren't like a regular thing like in an average person's life. Like, highlights like come every so often, and they're a highlight because they stand out. Like, these are things that people don't typically do on a regular. So you can't compare someone's like over the top and rare accomplishment and or extravagant experience to your day to day. Like, that's just not something that you can continuously do without it being a problem, and that's just not healthy. You can't do it. So you got to watch that when you're spending time on people's highlight reel. Okay, another area that we want to watch out for is said to be this sort of social currency type ordeal that's kind of coming about with the whole social media thing, because apparently these likes and comments and shares and things are they're being compared to currency. Like, social currency is being compared to like actual currency, like the actual dollar, because apparently like a currency, if you think about it, is something that we literally use to attribute value to a good or a service. Okay, and if you think about it, that's the same thing that these likes and comments and shares do. They attribute a value to something that you're seeing or something that you see someone else. This is going to go over 15 minutes. I'll probably have to do a part 1 or a part 2. Apologize for that. You can just break it up in sections and watch it, as you have the leisure, and I'm totally okay with that, okay? Because Lifechat is rooting for our health, and I know, and the whole point of me doing this video is so that I can share with you all this very up-to-date and newfound information so we can take control over this social media thing so that it can work for our good and not work against us. That's what it was made for. It was made for us to use, but it's turning out that the usage has to be